everyone, and welcome to the fifth part of the serialization tutorial. Now, I've realized that this is actually a lot like the item system that I had envisioned, but I will probably go a little bit further if I actually create an item system. I just wanted to go ahead and show you the basics of how you can get JSON.NET to do what you want. So, let's talk about how we can go ahead and streamline the process of determining what the actual types of the items are. So if we go into each of these classes, let's see if there's any way to determine it. Let's see. We have the name, we have the cost. Now, of course, we can look to see if the name is, one that was saved to Armor data, but then we would have to save that, and that just seems really messy. So I think we're going to have to introduce something new. One thing that we could do is just a string to public string type get return item. But what that's going to prevent us from doing, and we could actually set this to virtual so we can load it up in different ones. What this is going to prevent us from doing is using item in a way that makes sense to the rest of the editor. For instance, if we change item here, but then have it called 50 other places to typecast it as item, it's not going to work well. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is do item type, create a, okay, let's do item type dot item. Okay, now we can create the type. If we go to generate type and I say enum, create new file, where do I want that file created? I want it in scripts. Then I'm going to also type in enum, and then we will call it item type.cs. That should work. Of course, that was a little silly. Alright, let's go to item type, and then we're going to say GrayMatter dot data, and we'll leave it like that. Okay, so this should be public. Then we have an item, armor, weapon. I gotta make sure that I put that in the right place. It's driving me nuts already. Alright, let's go ahead and put that enum in the data folder. I don't think I put that there the first time. Okay. So, we're getting errors, and that's to be expected, seeing as we put it in the wrong, or put it in the wrong type. So now if we return item type, okay. So, for every single item data, there's absolutely no way to change this type, and it's always going to return item type.item. Also, because it's public, it's going to serialize this type every single time. Can it deserialize it? No. Do we need to deserialize it? No. We just need to be able to serialize it to a file, so when we go to load the file, it's in the JObject. So, let's go ahead and go over to Armor. And at the top of every single one, I'm going to do override item type, and we're going to call this one armor. Okay, and then go to the other class, just like that. Now, why did I go this route when creating it like this? Oh man, I totally did not put a capital, did I? No, I didn't. Okay. So why did I want to create it this way? Why add an extra field for every single, class that we inherit from? Well, because we might change these classes. We might not call this damage later on. We might not call, or even have damage be a property of weapon data. And then do we want to go back and change it every single time? But if we have a type associated with every single one, this will work perfectly fine. So instead of doing this J token and all of this stuff, what we'll actually do is we'll say item type equals, and then we're going to cast it as a item as an item type, we're going to say JObject, or actually OBJ, and then provide the type, and that's it, I think. Okay, oh, I see what went wrong. Also have the cast it as an int. Okay, so we cast this as an int because it stores it as an int, and then we'll cast it as an item type, and then we'll return that, or we'll set that to type, and then we'll do a switch statement based off of type, and say case item type armor, return new armor data. Case item type weapon, return new weapon data. Oops. And then default, return new item data. Why default return new item data? We don't need to check if it is item data because the very lowest thing it will be is item data. But this will even work beyond armor data. So if you do gloves, just have the item type be gloves. And if you do a helmet and stuff like that, although they are armor, they will also be gloves, and then you can just return it as a new glove. This will work even if you go below item data and say we have an asset JSON converter of the type asset data, and we want to check item at that point, but then the lowest form would be asset and stuff like that. So this is going to be extremely beneficial here, but it could also be beneficial later on when we use, if you use editors and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and test it. And I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to work. That error needs to go away real quick. Oh, so type was never saved, so it won't work the first time, but it will work every time after that. Okay, and then let's go ahead and check just to make sure nothing was changed. Why did I check there? Refresh. Okay, go to test, and then none of these should be of the type item except for the two item test, but we'll check that in a second whenever it decides to load. Okay, so the item is armor because it has defense, but it's also of type 1. Type 2 is the weapon, and then type 0 is the item. Type 1 again is armor, type 2 is weapon, and then type 0 is item. So it looks like everything's saved. You got defense, you got damage. You probably can't see any of that. So this is what I was talking about when I said type. You have defense for the armor, damage for the weapon. It looks like everything is working perfectly fine. So that's how you can go ahead and implement your own item system and into serialization, and how you can get it all to work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this series and will join me for future series. Have a great day.